Welcome, everybody, to Dream. Draft rules everything around me, and me, in this case, is Kris Pursiainen. How we doing? Great to have you here. I'm excited. I hope you're excited. This draft class, no pun intended, is really, really fun. And it's that way because of I'd say if you charted like that consensus rating out of 10 of each prospect, I think there's a huge plateau. Um, and basically, I I think it's really fun to have to dive into those weeds and go ahead and decide, okay, this guy to me is a 7.21 out of 10 prospect, and this guy is a 7.19. Who do I like better? It's going to be different for pretty much every team. The reasoning, at least. Fit matters more than anything else in this draft class. And we know the New York Knicks definitely are a team that drafts for fit. You take a look at the players they bring in, a lot of them multi-year college players, players with years of experience, players that have a skill they can bring to the table on day one, but players that also have some perceived upside to the Knicks front office, to the Knicks scouting department. As a result, you basically look at a group of guys that the Knicks bring in that can do something from day one, even if they're not going to play from day one, and also can grow to be a little bit more. Of course, that upside becomes, less and less likely to reach as you get later in the draft. So like Jericho Sims at 58 versus Emmanuel Quickly or Quentin Grimes at 25. Big difference. You know what I mean? But happy Thursday to everyone, and welcome to Maurice Cheeks. Mo Cheeks. Clyde is going to have a field day with that one, and he's a longtime friend of Tom Thibodeau, according to Fred Katz, friend of the show. And so as a result, he is now on the Knicks coaching staff. He's been all over the NBA, and he'll bring a veteran presence. So yeah, Mo Cheeks for the New York Knicks. And we got a super chat to start things off. Y'all are crazy. Thank you so much for coming out, every single one of you, whether you comment, whether you super chat, whether you're just sitting back watching with a drink. That could be a glass of water. That could be a Jonathan Macri-esque craft beer, something in between. Whatever it is, thanks so much for being here. You are appreciated, and this show is for you. Draft rules, everything around me is for you. Why? Because draft class comes out every Saturday and sometimes more. And that's me yapping and yagging away with a guest who's willing to come on the show and talk the draft from a Knicks perspective. This show is all about you guys, and it's all about your questions. So to start off with a question, D.R.E.A.M, what is going on? Opinion if the New York Knicks left with Tyler Kolek, Kaishan, and Bona. Of course, for those who don't know, Kaishan refers to Kaishan George. He went to Miami. He's a wing. He's 6'7". Bona refers to Adem Bona. He went to UCLA. He's a big. He is 6'8" or 6'9". And I'll start with Kolek and Bona, who Sam Vecini of The Athletic and I talked about a good deal on the latest episode of Draft Class, Season 3, Episode 3, an episode in which we discuss plenty of prospects that I think would be interesting to Knicks fans at this juncture of the season and of the draft cycle. Tyler Kolek, right? Like, again, you look to the team that beat the Knicks in the playoffs, the Indiana Pacers. They have someone on that team who I think kind of matches what you're looking for from Kolek at the NBA level. Somebody who is not going to be your long-term starting point guard, but when called on can do the job. He can get the team into their sets. He can hit open shots. He can make the right reads and passes. And that's TJ McConnell. Now, Tyler Kolek, definitely a better shooter than McConnell was as a prospect. He might come into the league a better shooter than McConnell is now. But there are things that McConnell can do that Kolek can't, which is, I want to say, like, piss people off in the sense where McConnell's so scrappy, such a tough player, and Kolek has not proven that at an NBA level because he hasn't had a chance to prove anything at an NBA level, but that's okay. We'll let him prove himself. So Kolek, I would like for the New York Knicks, particularly if Rokas Jokubaitis is not in their long-term plans. However, if he is, if they plan to bring Jokubaitis overseas and to the United States of America to play for the New York Knickerbockers, Kolek could be a bit redundant. Now, long term, sure, getting him on a refreshed contract, cost controlled player, talent, asset, however you want to slice it and dice it, I do think that that could be something you could sell me on. Um, but if you're bringing Rokas over, draft a wing and a big if you're drafting two players. I guess my first opinion would be, wow, the Knicks drafted three players. One of these guys is getting sent to Westchester and never coming back for at least a calendar year. And the other two might sit on the end of the bench. Like, I don't know. I think that would be my biggest surprise, would be that they drafted three guys. Kaishan George. How do I start with Kaishan George? It comes down to when you watch Miami and you watch him play, 20 years old, born basically a year and a half after me. He's someone who in just his freshman year, again, not someone the Knicks typically draft freshmen, right? But he took an okay amount of threes and hit 41%. That's good. He can pass a little bit. He can score a little bit. He's one of those bets you make in this kind of draft class where you're like, okay, I don't think that this guy is going to be some revolutionary all-star talent, but damn it, will he be a star in his role as a role player one day? Um, yeah, I mean, I don't know how much this matters. His three-point shooting was definitely way better at home. That screams role player. He's from Switzerland, but I don't. ESPN used to have a pretty high ranking on him. I think the question with George is really, and I've been filibustering to avoid this. I want to say he is just like, if you believe in the point forward potential. So if you believe in the point forward potential, he's totally worth a first round pick. And he's someone who you should take in the top 20 or 22 of this draft class at absolute worst. You think he can really be like a shooting Kyle Anderson one day. Um, if you don't believe in the point forward potential, then you are looking at someone who, what's the comp? What's a good comp? Old Nick Batum? Old Nick Batum. Maybe that's the comp. So somewhere in that range, for Kaishan George. And then Adem Bona. Adem Bona is someone who Tom Thibodeau would love. He would love to have Adem Bona. Hard worker, crazy motor, crazy work ethic, smart kid. And I could see him replacing Jericho Sims as the third string center, just as a result of Thibodeau looking at him and being like, okay, this kid works his tail off. I'm okay playing him in spurts if someone gets hurt, like if Robinson or Hartenstein gets hurt. However, if one of those two centers takes flight and goes elsewhere, whether the Knicks trade Robinson or Hartenstein signs with a team like Oklahoma City, which Andrew Claudio just did a great podcast with Andrew Schlecht from the OKC beat. You should check that out. It's called I Heart Attack, aptly and cleverly named. That said, if he does leave, Bona isn't someone who I think Thibodeau would be like, oh, get him in and he's coming off the bench and I'm giving him 18 minutes a game. So maybe you'd see a re-signing of Precious Achua in that case. Another super chat from the first one was from D Bro. The next one is from D Bo. That's not the same person? There's no way. D Bo, what's going on? What are your thoughts on the fit of Tyler Smith, Johnny Furphy, and Bobby Klintman for the Knicks? Okay, let's start with Tyler Smith. He's like a throwback four. When I was growing up watching the NBA, I make that sound like so long ago. That was a decade ago. But when I was growing up watching the NBA, I think Tyler Smith would have fit perfectly into that. He's someone who when you look at his game, you think like Thaddeus Young, maybe you think um like Derek Favors, man. Like there's some different comparisons you can make there that um he's just someone who can play. How about that? I say that all the time. He can just play. Um, he can just play. And the fact that he can do that, the fact that you can trust him for that, makes him someone I could see the Knicks drafting. But the perceived upside, that's where the bite is. How much do you think there is? Right. And obviously that's the question with everyone, but it's so hyper important for Smith because if you think he is who he is, which I don't think you should, then that is going to be someone who you might want to take in the second round or like the late first. But in my opinion, I see him as an upside swing. I see Tyler Smith as like a swing, a bite at the apple. Um, he can shoot. Like the guy can shoot. He's like 6'9". He's 19 years old. He played with G League Ignite, in case you don't know. He didn't have much of a role there, but he shot something like 35% from three, and he scored 14 points a game. So in a limited role, scoring 14 points a game, grabbing about 5 boards, and just in the pick and pop, the pick and roll, filling up empty space, like he's smart. He's a good player already, just 19. And so in my opinion, I think he would be a great pick for the Knicks if he's there at 24. But I think they would want to send him to Westchester for at least half a year, if not a full year, because at just 19 years old, how much patience is Tom Thibodeau going to have when he just turned in a 50-win season with a 19-year-old rookie? Johnny Furphy. This is an interesting one. He's someone who I could see Knick fans being really interested in. He's someone I could see Knick fans hating. I really don't know what to do with this eval for the Knicks because, in my opinion, um, he doesn't exactly scream someone that's like confident in his game right now, someone that knows how to impact a game, someone that knows, hey, this is how I can contribute. Um, Basically, in short, he's a project, right? And he's someone who needs to learn a lot. And I'm not trying to like talk down on him. I'm just saying, like, hey, probably not a pick for the Knicks. If he is, he's going to Westchester for a calendar year. Um, so yeah, I guess that's it with him. I mean, sure, like his physicality is great. Um, he is an upside swing the same way Smith is, but I think Smith has a higher floor. Furphy, like, he might go to a team like who has multiple first round picks? Who has multiple first round picks? Um, I know the Knicks do. That's funny. Okay, say Furphy goes to the Wizards at like 26. Say he slides, right? I think that he might never be anything ever. And that stinks, right? But situation is so much for these kids, especially this draft class. Um, so yeah, Bobby Klintman. Okay, this is a fun one. I'm glad you asked. I last year, um, I did not think he was like someone worth drafting with a high pick or anything. I did not watch Bobby Klintman play and be like, oh my God, NBA teams are going to be all over this guy. But I will say in this latest season, he has shown that he fits an archetype that's worth a lot. Big shooting wing. I mean, who doesn't want one of those, right? So I know the New York Knicks might. The thing is, I don't know that I buy the New York Knicks buying Bobby Klintman in terms of who he is as a prospect. He's good in transition. He's still picking up his half court offense. But he's someone else who, even after taking the extra year before coming into the draft cycle, might do a full year in Westchester. Like, I just don't see, I think I'm going to say this a lot. Like, I just don't see anybody playing. I don't see many rookies that will play for the Knicks this season. Um, and as a result, maybe a team like Boston would want Klintman and throw him in their G League system and then try and bring him up as a long, big wing that can shoot it long term. But he shot 35% from three this year. So nothing too crazy. But yeah, Debo, thank you so much for the super chat. D.R.E.A.M, thank you so much for the super chat. I really appreciate you too. Thanks so much for being here and contributing to the stream. I mean, you guys asked great questions that brought up good conversation, even if it's just me. But it also just means a lot that you would give a super chat to little old me. So I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Another super chat from Soul Squad. Let's talk about it. We need Terrence Shannon Jr., most complete big wing. Okay, let's say this. Terrence Shannon Jr. is good at basketball. He is talented. He can do things that you can't teach necessarily. And he's good at things that you can teach. That said, there was a verdict today that he was found not guilty in the rape trial that he was the perp in, right? And I think there's a difference, and it's, I'm not a lawyer. I'm not someone who understands the law greatly, but not enough evidence to convict someone in a criminal court, which is something very unfortunately common for victims of sexual assault, doesn't mean guaranteed to be innocent and totally exonerated and whatever. So, like, for that reason, I think plenty of NBA teams have Terrence Shannon Jr. off their board. And I think the Knicks would be one of them because they seem to hyper value character. Deuce McBride, Emmanuel Quickly, Jericho Sims, all insanely hard workers. Quentin Grimes, right? Like, I don't know that even if it's just a question, like, they have their own vetting ability. They can go out and they can check prospects out. Did you see the NHL recently? Hold on. Let's talk about this for a second. The NHL is asking prospects for their snap score, their score on Snapchat, and their Uber rating. It's basically like, are you committed or are you an asshole? I think that's really funny. And I would not be surprised if NBA teams were already doing that or were going to start now. But that said, I don't think the Knicks would be interested in Shannon Jr. because there are character questions. I think questions are enough for them to shy away. So yeah. One more super chat to get to. It's from Fargo Tufo, aka Alex. Hey, what's up? Nice to see you virtually after meeting you in person at the KFS watch party during the playoffs. Shout out T Squared for hosting those. They were an amazing time. It was so cool talking to so many of y'all. What's going on? Thoughts on AJ Mitchell? Is he Nemhard light? I really like AJ Mitchell. I promise Prez didn't do this to me, but he's a 22-year-old guard. He went to Santa Barbara. He's 6'3", and he is super fun. He's got a bag and a half. I think again, another one of those kids who can just play, but he's got flair to him. He's got the ability to really make highlight plays. And as a result, I think the New York Knicks could use a little of that razzle dazzle, a little bit of that pizzazz, a little bit of that flair. But when not just like Julian Newman flair, right? I'm talking like functional flair. And I think that could be something fun for their roster. So say Kolek is like way off the board and they trade out of the first round because no one they like is still there. AJ Mitchell in the second, lovely consolation prize, if you ask me. Okay, let's get back to some of y'all's chats. Let's see what you got. Calvinist preterist. Bona, you corrected yourself. Good one. Good catch. Dona. What are we making charitable contributions? Ha, ha, ha. I hate myself. Okay. Bona with our second round pick is a steal. It's a good pick. With 24 and 25, I prefer two wings who can play make over Kolek, like Jalen Tyson and Kevin McCullough. So I raise you that I do not think, I think hell will freeze over before the New York Knicks make two picks in the first round of guys that play the same position. The camera's gonna, like, someone's gonna put this in a video and it's gonna cut to them selecting two guards back to back or some shit. But yeah, so I understand what you're saying. Yes, no ceilings NBA made a great point that drafting wings in the first round can be, or drafting wings in the lottery more specifically, can be like drafting quarterbacks in the first round. You might get Zach Wilson, you might get Justin Herbert from a prospect that looks similar on a brief highlight watch. I think the Knicks take one person in the first round. If they take anyone, and basically I would go with Jalen Tyson if they did do that. That said, that said, I understand wanting a wing swing over Tyler Kolek and just bringing Rokas over. Like, if that's your opinion, I'll be like, God bless. That's smart. That sounds like a plan I can rock with. If you said take the known quantity in Kolek, don't take someone like Ryan Dunn, who's a huge question mark on one end of the floor, and like that, okay, sure. You can sell me on anything in this draft class. Anything. Again, like I said, there's a plateau. It doesn't mean they're all bad. It just means we don't have superstar players. There's no Zion. There's no Cade. There's no Mobley. There's no Luka. And scouting departments are good enough where I'm not sure that there's a Giannis or a Kawhi waiting in the late lottery. That said, I do think that taking bites just to take bites on a team where you are not necessarily going to be playing any of these kids, like, okay, you gotta beef up Westchester. Then you got to get guards in Westchester that can really make plays. And because you need to set these kids up not for failure. Like, you need to set these kids up for success. So yeah. Next comment is a super chat. Debo, what is up? Thank you so much, man. I really appreciate you. Thank you. Any interesting draft and stash prospects in the second round? Yeah. And the Knicks brought him in. So his name is Andrea Jelovic. Andrea Jelovic. I'm not pronouncing that right. Is there a way I can, like, comment on my own stream and show you guys how to spell this? Okay, hold on. How can I comment on my own stream and show you how to sell this guy's name? Spelled, not sell. I don't know how to do that. I'm gonna stop trying. Live producing going on. Sorry. Okay. Yeah, he's cool. Also, if you like, what's it like? Nikola Jurisic is, like, I know people are just obsessed with anyone named Nikola from Europe. Like, understood. I get it. But, you know, I don't know that I'm super in on Jurisic. He would be an intriguing draft. He's the definition of an intriguing draft and stash prospect. Sam Vecini in his latest mock, I want to say, sent him in the early second round somewhere. So, the Knicks took Rokas Jokubaitis in the early second round and stashed him. So that could be a thing. Yeah, I wouldn't be too I wouldn't be too sold on a draft and stash in this class unless it was Jurisic, because I just don't know who else you're like. If you take Pacome D.R.E.A, you should bring him over if you can. Melvin Ajinsa, I think he would come over. Juan Nunez. Okay, Juan Nunez. Intriguing draft and stash. There you go. There is another intriguing draft and stash will be Juan Nunez. Okay. Darren Hood, what is going on? Long time no see. I know, but thanks for coming out. You fixed that. Thank you. I appreciate it, and I appreciate seeing you here. He's got a question. Which direction do I see the Knicks heading towards via the draft and free agency? Free agency, retention. Hartenstein, Anunoby, one of Burks and Achua. I see them reaching terms with 3 players. I could see one of Burks and Achua and Bogdanovich going elsewhere. I could see Bogdanovich getting guaranteed. So I don't know. They keep things close to the vest. But with the draft, I see them looking for guys that can plug into roles, looking for great third stringers for this season that can grow into rotation players long term. Yeah. Dirty Dancer, what's going on? The king of the KFS draft channel in the KFS Discord. Join the Patreon and get in the KFS Discord if you're not. Why? Because it is awesome in there and frankly hilarious a lot of the time. So I hope you enjoy that if you do join. Dirty Dancer's got lots of evals of prospects in the draft chat. We appreciate him so greatly. I never want to see Jericho Sims in the playoffs again. So get me a third center. Can I raise you one Zachary Edey? Would love him for the New York Knicks. I think the fit is amazing. I think the fit is great. And I think Thibodeau would love him. So Zach Edey, I think would be cool for the New York Knicks. If not him, Khalil Ware and Day'Ron Holmes both have a lot of question marks to them. But they also both they so don't fit what Thibodeau does with centers. That said, I do think that they would be really fun as Knicks. And either of them could give the Knicks the ability to play 5-out offense, which if you're watching the NBA finals right now, I made this I had this take on my other show today with Ball is Life that like what the Knicks are looking at when they see the Celtics and Mavericks series is 2 teams playing rock, paper, scissors, and the Celtics are throwing out rock every single time, and the Mavericks just keep throwing out paper. And like the Celtics are waiting for the Mavericks to switch it up, and they're just not. So they're beating them with rock every time. 5-out is going to win the Boston Celtics a championship. Real hoopers be damned. Analytics win. 5-out. XJ, you win. So yeah, that's who's gonna win the chip this year is a team playing 5-out in the NBA finals. So yeah. Bo Ismail, Ryan Dunn, and Tyler Smith call it a day. That would be a really interesting duo of draft picks. How do the Knicks do? I guess you would be like hoping you get Tyler Smith at 24 and then just taking Dunn at 25 or maybe trading back a couple spots and like praying he doesn't go. But I see in the comments someone saying Eve Misi for a center. Prometheus, shout out to you. I love Eve Misi. I think he needs so much. I think he's raw. And I think he needs enough polish that Tom Thibodeau might not care to deal with him unless he went to Westchester for a full year. And the Knicks also re-signed Precious Achua, and we're carrying 4 centers on the roster with 1 in Westchester. We got a super chat in. Osfand Yar Janjua, what is going on? If this is my guy 7, what is going on? If it's not, still what's going on, but 7. What's up, my man? Great to see you in here. I think that's you. I really do think that's you. If it's not, that's so awkward. But anyway, thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate you a ton. Terrence Shannon Jr. a real possibility? I wouldn't think so. Just knowing the Knicks front office and their MO, I wouldn't think so. Just because of the fact that they're super high on character. And if there are character concerns, I could see them just not wanting to even ask the questions. Like just being like, we can't do this in this draft class. These guys are all so similar. We're not messing around. So yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think they would steer clear of that. Mo Cheeks, thoughts on the hire? I mean, always welcome a veteran presence on the Knicks bench. It's very cool to me that they hired another coach. I don't know if they're expecting somebody to leave. But like Fred Katz of The Athletic said, he's a longtime friend of Tom Thibodeau. He was most recently with Chicago, so he's been in the Eastern Conference. He's a 3-time NBA head coach. He's with Billy Donovan all the time. So OKC, Chicago, now with Tom Thibodeau. So good for Mo Cheeks. And I think he'll be a cool addition to the Knicks staff, just someone for the players to trust in and another veteran presence and perspective for them to hear from. Let's go to Z_O. Kris would know better. Don't count on that. But I read that Dunn had a growth spurt that messed with his shot, and Virginia isn't exactly a program that develops offensive talent. Okay, yeah, Ryan Dunn definitely had a growth spurt. He grew 5 inches about from when he was going to be coming into college basketball. He was 6'2", and he was 6'2" when I'm trying to remember when exactly this was. I want to say it was during his high school career, so before college. But now he's 5 inches taller. He's about 6'7". In 2020, he was 6'4" and weighed 150 pounds. The real growth spurt was to 2021, when he hadn't even committed yet. He was up to 6'7" and 190 pounds. So with that in mind, yes, a growth spurt is a big deal, but it was 3 to 4 years ago. So we can't count on that being responsible for all of his offensive woes. He really needs to figure out how to contribute on offense. Maybe it's as a small ball 5. Something tells me that a team creative enough to use him as a small ball 5 will do so and will reap benefits of it. But if they can't, I think it's a worthwhile bet in this draft class. Why? You're taking someone with an elite skill, and that skill is off-ball and on-ball defense. So couple it into just defense, and Dunn is really good. So yeah. Who else do we got? I take so long to go through questions sometimes, so sorry, I'm aware. And I'm trying to be better. Dirty Dancer, Kris, which stash guy would you want if the Knicks only want to carry 2 rookies? Give me Juan Nunez. I'm going to go with Juan Nunez. I'm Dominican. Let's avenge Jean Montero. And let's get the Knicks oh, PL, you're completely right. I'm a moron. I meant rock beats scissors. Did I mess that up on my other show too? Oh, Christ. Don't talk to me. Don't chat me. Damn. I'm a moron and a half. Okay, back to questions. Give me Juan Nunez. Get the Knicks a Hispanic point guard. JD, what's up, my man? AJ Mitchell is better than Tyler Kolek, and it's not particularly close. Ooh. Hot take central right now. I think, do you mean as a prospect or do you mean right now? Right now, I think Kolek's the better player. I think Kolek was a top 3 player in the Big East, maybe top 2. But going forward, I could see AJ Mitchell being the better pick. The Knicks are good right now, though. And the Knicks aren't a team that's just trying to be good right now. Like, they are good right now. So yeah, that's it. Mike Pat, Kris, what's up, Mike? Dream moves are trading a first for a point guard, maybe Brogdon, and then drafting a wing and a big. Ooh, man. Malcolm Brogdon. Um, I I think he wants to be a starter. I think he thinks this is total conjecture and speculation based lightly off of things that sources have told me over the years. I think he views his time to be a starter in the NBA as dwindling, and I think he's someone who wants that shot to start on a good team and prove himself. I think he's watching Derek White right now prove himself as way better than anyone ever thought. Um, and as a result, would like to do the same himself. Don't know that he would welcome a trade to the Knicks. He's also with Clutch. So there would be, you know, ample discussion there about the fit. Let's go to Coach. Coach CR617. Khalil Ware was coached by Mike Woodson. And his CAA Mafia. And Coach is also saying you want Ryan Dunn and Khalil Ware. Nick should trade up for Ware. That 8 points and 8 rebounds isn't worth $72 million. What if I told you I would pay $80 million for Isaiah Hartenstein? Now, you might be like, if 72 million isn't worth 8 and 8, then 80 definitely isn't. Here's the thing, man. You hear about these TV deals being signed right now by Adam Silver and the very National Basketball Association that he runs. $20 million contracts are dropping the bucket nowadays, dude. Who cares? 20 million to him. The Dallas Mavericks have Tim Hardaway Jr. playing like break glass in case of emergency minutes. So I wouldn't care. And I think Isaiah Hartenstein is worth it. I think he's worth 20 million a year. And maybe now you think that I'm a moron, but I'm just going to say I'd give him whatever the Knicks can because he is good. And he, particularly with Jalen Brunson, is a fantastic fit as a release valve in the pick and roll. Maybe you feel the same way about Khalil Ware. That said, Tom Thibodeau will not, and he will not want to give that kid a minute in his rookie season. And that's how it is. So since that's how it is, gotta live with it, right? And I think Knicks fans should be willing to live with it because I think 50 wins in the second seed is worth living with anything. That's just me, though. John Mosgrove, do you think the Knicks go all in on Zach Edey? I don't think the Knicks go all in on anybody in this draft class. Sam Vecini brought up Ron Holland as someone they might really try to trade up for, but that wasn't so Knicks based as it was like the Knicks might like him. He doesn't have the athleticism that Cam Whitmore had, but he also doesn't have the knee troubles, and he could be like a high value pick for them outside of the lottery. And that said, in this draft class, I don't think they go all in on anybody. And the reason is because they have the pick of the litter when it comes to these late first round, early second round prospects. They're at 24 and 25. I bet they move one of the picks, and I bet they take someone there. Or maybe they do this. Maybe they say, okay, 25 and 38, we're going to trade both to a team, or 24 and 38. We're going to trade both of those to get up to like 19 or 20. And 25, we're going to trade for a future first rounder that's lightly protected, the Brock Aller special. And as a result, they take someone at 19, they get their pick, and that's the only pick they make all draft. I could see that. I could totally see that too. Dirty Dancer. Shouldn't the lesson of there aren't stretch fives, many stretch fives in reality, be to go get one when they do come about? Yes. And I also think the Knicks particularly could use one because they don't have one right now. I remember when the Knicks signed Isaiah Hartenstein and fans were running amok with theories about how he can hit the three. I put out like a 3-tweet thread and I was like, the only threes this guy ever makes are when he's wide open or when there's 0.6 seconds left on the shot clock. And that's because the Clippers played 5 out with him. And sometimes he got the hot potato at the end of the shot clock. That said, the Knicks don't play 5 out. They could if they got a stretch 5. Hartenstein isn't one. I think they should get a stretch 5. I think they could sign one or draft one. But if they're going to get a 5 that changes the way they play basketball, I kind of want to say to go with Ryan Dunn. Imagine him and OG Anunoby as your front court in a small ball lineup. Holy shit, dude. How the hell do you make a layup on those guys? You just don't. Like Kyrie, Brunson, funnily enough, like there's the list of guys who could score at the rim that are guards on that front court duo. Very small, very short list. So yeah, Prometheus, my man, bringing out the deep cuts, the album cuts. Malivi Leons as a UDFA. I'm gonna be upfront and say I have not gotten to his film, but of course, in looking at foreign players, because for some reason I've been doing like a whole deep dive on them recently. I do think that guys who play overseas in Europe just get the game a different way. Just get the game in a different way than American born players can sometimes. And that's not saying one's better than the other, just in a different way. I mean, the guy played in the Mountain Valley Conference. Yes, he was a 2-time defensive player of the year in his last 2 seasons. He improved the way you want to see. He was on the most improved team last year. He was on the second team of the conference last year. And then this year he was on the first team and he was on the all district first team and he was on the all defensive team, obviously, because he was the defensive player of the year. He was really good in the MVC, but would he be just like a new Charlie Brown Jr. for the New York Knicks? Would he be just a new Daquan Jeffries? Like, I guess he's 24 years. The kid is 24 years old. He's 24. But he's interesting. And that's for sure. If it's a UDFA, like you shouldn't draft him. Yeah, Missouri Valley Conference, MVC. I said that, right? I think I said that. He could be. It's just, I'm not gonna lie and be like, I have some like strong eval of him. It's all conjecture for me. Like, he could be good, he can produce, but in not that tough of a conference and as a freaking 24-year-old. So like, it's give and take with him. I don't know specifically the extent to which he fits the Knicks analytical profiles, but Jeremy Cohen might. So I will ask him. What he thinks. Yeah. Thank you for the question. That's a good name. No one has asked me about him. I appreciate that. Jason Meredith, my man, kind of surprised how poorly the international prospects did in terms of athletic testing. The first time these players tested, and it may have exposed why some European prospects have failed in the NBA. Sure, right? But like, every rectangle is not a square, but every square is a rectangle. Like, sometimes causation just isn't correlation. Sometimes guys who are not going to test super high athletically end up being some of the most skilled in the NBA. Luka Doncic is built like me right now, man. Like, straight up. I could not do what he does. And there are guys who are built like linebackers who are going to be NBA prospects who could never do what he does. Not that like I'm obviously I can't do what he does. I'm here talking about draft picks. There's a reason for that. I think a lot of the NBA is full of European prospects and foreign born players who are just good at basketball. But I guess I get your surprise, but then doesn't that impress you? Like the skill level there? Also, like you said, it's the first time they tested super small sample size, super, super small. Let's go to Reynaldo Maldonado. Do you think that the Knicks trade for Towns? No, I do not. I don't think they move Randall for Towns, and I don't see what other move you would make because you are not you are just not playing Brunson, DiVincenzo, Towns, Randall, and a center. It would have to be Cat at the 5. Um, so yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't think that happens. I can't see that happening at all. Let's go to Prometheus. Justin Edwards is too slept on. Yes, man. I took him in the first round of a mock draft, the Mavs draft community mock. I would think he goes in the middle of the second. If I had to guess, like, is he worth a bite at the apple? Yes, in my opinion. I also think you are who your tape says you are to an extent. Like, I believe that to an extent. And as a result, I am not going to sit around and say, hey, um, he is a surefire bona fide first round pick. So that said, can you lean on him with high draft capital, high value to return that value? No. If he falls into your lap, do it. I bet the Knicks have great intel on him at number 38 in the draft if they want to reach a little bit and take him. Go for it. Send him to Westchester. See what he's got. Prometheus again. Get Cornette back as a third stringer. Yo, that's so real. I love Luke Cornette. I'm not going to be dramatic about Luke Cornette, but I never thought the Knicks should have let him go. Then again, that's one of the many moves that resulted in them winning 50 games. So I'm not going to freak out. JD, Knicks need to really figure out what they want out of the backup point guard spot, because if they're never going to bring over Rokas, then they should probably draft, trade, or sign one this offseason. Yeah. I mean, like I said earlier, and it's okay if you missed it, I'll say it again. If you're going to bring over Rokas, you don't need to draft Tyler Kolek. Take a big, take a swing at wing if you want, or just take a big. Be done with this draft. If you don't think you're going to bring over Rokas and that you're never going to, draft Kolek. Why not? I like him. I like the kid. 6'2", 6'3" wingspan. Not a dream set of measurables. But if you're there at 24 and 25, you think he lasts several more picks, kick one of the cans down the road, trade back 5 spots with the other, and take him with the last pick in the first round. You know? Vega, Baylor Shireman would be my pick. If you go listen to season 3, episode 3 of Draft Class with Sam Vicini, Ryman accidentally, he says that most Big East coaches and players that he talked to said that Shireman was the best player in the Big East, the hardest to guard, you name it. That's pretty cool, especially considering Devin Carter and Tyler Kolek are in the Big East. So yeah, Shireman's cool. I could see the Knicks taking him at 38 if he's there. I don't know the extent to which they would be interested in him with a first round pick. But in my opinion, I would take him at 25. I would take him at 25. So yeah, 24 or 25. I think Shireman would be a fine pick there. He's 23 years old. He's a 6'6" wing. He passes the Perrin test. He's good today. He can shoot that thing. And he averaged 4 assists a game. So he's one of those guys who will be a role player, but who got a lot of usage in college. Good. That bodes well for guys typically. So yeah, I actually really like Baylor Shireman more than most people do, I think. I really like him. Jason Meredith, for people saying the Knicks shouldn't take a player because they have a low ceiling, remember quickly Grimes, McBride were all considered low ceiling prospects. They all surpassed those projections. Real ones, no. Deuce McBride was never seen as a low ceiling prospect. And I really liked Emmanuel Quickly too. I had a first round grade on Emmanuel Quickly. I had a first round grade on Deuce McBride. Grimes, I had right outside of the first round. I had him like 37 or something. Regret that. So yeah, the Knicks love taking players that are good today and have upside, in their opinion. Dirty Dancer, I don't even buy those combine numbers. They say D.R.E.A. has a 9-foot standing reach with a 6'9" wingspan, which is impossible. Or maybe he's got Gumby legs. Have you considered that? But yeah, those measurements are funky. I would like to see if something comes out of NBA teams bringing him in and being like, okay, the standing reach is 8'9" and the wingspan is 6'9" or 6'10". I would be like, okay, that's believable. But D.R.E.A. is cool though. Like, okay, sham numbers aside, I think he should go top 40 like pretty easily. He's a fun bet. I know the Boris Dirk podcast. I appreciate those guys a lot. They had me on their show one time. I really enjoy their show. The Boris Dirk podcast, funnily named too. It's on brand for them. Clever, funny, good NBA analysis. They love doing NBA draft stuff. They saw D.R.E.A. having like a meteoric rise in stock leading up to the draft. It hasn't necessarily hit yet, but he is rising in stock. The stock is rising. So teams are looking at the measurables. They're buying the measurables. And overall, I think they should. I think he's worth a swing. I think he's a pitch you swing at in this draft class. Mars Jetson, PJ Hall could work on the Knicks. Yes, but what he would be like a little bit of a change of pace for Tom Thibodeau. Then again, Tom Thibodeau, very closely associated with the Timberwolves. When did they bring in Naz Reid? Seriously, 2019, right? Tom Thibodeau, Timberwolves tenure until 2019. Okay, so Reid may not have been a Thibodeau pickup. Maybe he was. I don't know. That said, he was a steal because he went undrafted. Teams are morons. PJ Hall will not go undrafted. Could he work on the Knicks? Hypothetically, yes. I don't know if the fit is there. Mars Jetson and Prometheus both talking about Isaiah Crawford. We'll keep. Yeah, there we go. See, look at my AP Kev. Look at him. Look at him dancing back and forth between those comments, man. That's special. Isaiah Crawford has to be that 38th pick, says Mars Jetson. Prometheus says Zay Crawford's a good get for 38. I really like Zay Crawford's tape. He's really good at basketball, and I think Tom Thibodeau would like him as a player. He's 22 years old with 2 torn ACLs. In this draft class, where so many prospects are similar, is that the kind of bet you want to be making? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I think I would if he were there at 38 and I didn't think any of like the next 4 teams wanted him. I would ask a team if they wanted to trade up and give me a future second round pick or something silly. And if they would do that, then I would target him there at like 44. So yeah, Vega trade with Utah 25 and 38 for 29 and 32. Get Baylor Shireman and Dunn. Trade 24 with the Bojan contract and other picks, and Vega is happy. Okay, this is tough, right? Because who are you trading? Who are you trading Bojan and the picks for? Whose salary fits in? Who are you targeting? That's a big question for me. Because the Knicks can run it back, Bojan or not, and be a good team. So if you're going to, I don't know if Utah takes that deal either. Moving up 4 spots in exchange for, Okay, Colin Sexton for the Bojan contract, says Dirty Dancer. Okay. Okay. So you'd have Brunson, DiVincenzo, Anunoby, Randall, Hartenstein, McBride, Sexton, Hart, Robinson. I guess that's your 9-man rotation. And then you draft like Zach Edey, or a center, and you have him as the third stringer. Maybe you can bring back Achua for cheap. Okay, that's a tough one. I like Colin Sexton. If you remember my analysis of him as a player when the Knicks were reportedly interested in trading Obi Toppin for him, it was that I liked him, and it was that I think he gets a bad rap and a bad shake, and that I think he's a good player. I think he got to show that in Utah, where they really, really play to players' strengths. Will Hardy is a damn good coach. So yeah. What else do y'all got? Actually, let's talk about Shireman and Dunn. If those are the two picks, I get it. But maybe Shireman would play. I don't think Dunn would play. So yeah. All right, this is funny. Let's go to Z_O. Does Edey get past Toronto? And if so, considering the Canadian national team Masai is building up there, does that raise questions? I don't think there's anything wrong with getting guys who are playing for their home country. I think there's pride in that. I think it depends on the type of player. Maybe some Canadians know how big of a deal the Raptors are, and they want to get shipped off to Utah or Orlando, and not have that pressure. I think RJ Barrett loves that pressure. Zach Edey is a bulldog, man. Well, maybe he's not small, so maybe he's like a mastiff. But you get what I'm saying. Kid's a dog. He's so tough. He's so physical. Tough, nasty, physical basketball, as Fordham coach Keith Ergo likes to say. I think he embodies that with his 7-4 frame. And I do think he gets past Toronto because they have Jakob Poeltl, and they paid him some damn good money. And so I don't think you see Toronto being like, oh, damn it. Edey could totally be the sixth man scorer. And I've talked about this, I think, literally on Dream before. Quickly, someone, Barrett, Barnes, Poeltl, off the bench, Edey as your sixth man and your lead scorer off the bench. I think Toronto doesn't care that Edey's not a fantastic fit with Barrett. I think they do care that he's a good fit with Quickly. But I think Toronto would pass on him. And honestly, I could see them doing it for another center. I could see them taking Khalil Ware or Yves Missi over Zach Edey. But that would be funny if they drafted another Canadian. Dirty Dancer. RJ Barrett was so much better next to a center like Olynyk than a Zach Edey type. Guys, we're approaching an hour on Dream. Send in your final questions. I'll rapid fire through as many as I can. I want to get to you all. If you want to make sure you get in, drop a super chat. It does not have to be for much. Just it'll guarantee you I answer your question before we wrap up. But to be honest, you're probably fine just dropping your question because I'll really try to rip through all of them. So don't feel like you have to super chat at all. Dirty Dancer. RJ was so much better. Yeah, RJ was really good next to Olynyk. I was excited when the Knicks signed Hartenstein because I felt that he really felt like the first big man ad for the Knicks that considered who RJ Barrett and Julius Randle are as basketball players and accommodated for that. So yeah. And I don't know that Edey, if he goes to Toronto, like I don't think RJ is in their long-term plans unless it's eventually as like the worst starter or the second worst starter on the team, which means they need to do more with their team building. Prometheus. Edey doesn't slip past Raps or Cavs at 20. I could see I could see the Cavs and Raptors both passing on him only because it's that kind of draft class. Like, if the Cavs take Tyler Smith or Tristan da Silva, will you be surprised? If the Raptors, if Isaiah Collier falls to 19, he will get taken by the Raptors. If maybe would they go Furphy over Edie? Maybe. Prometheus asks, what happened to Pirtle? Pirtle's alive and well, my man. He's good at basketball. He's a really good center. He's good. Dirty Dancer, Filipowski and Holmes are all arguably better fits for Cleveland than Edie and for Toronto than Edie. I would assume Filipowski's going to be gone by then. I would think he's going to be gone by then. I do think that Holmes will be there for sure. Unless someone decides to get silly in the late teens. So I think Edie's, I don't know what to make of this. Like, would the Pelicans take Holmes? I don't think so. And they draft at 21. So maybe Edie could fall to 22 to Phoenix. Would they take him if they actually drafted that pick? I don't think the Bucks would take him. I think the Bucks would rather have Khalil Ware or Tyler Smith, Day'Ron Holmes. Yeah, Edie might very well fall to 24 or 25. All right. Let's do a couple more. Everyone that has a question in so far, I will answer. This is a question for next year, but thoughts on Roman Sulepa. Is he the Australian prospect? He's going to go to the NBL, right? I mean, let's see what he's got. Where do I know him from? Sorry. He's in Team Australia. Yeah. He's Team Australia. I have not watched enough of him to give you a take. Sorry, Drippy. I now know exactly who we're talking about. And I don't got it. Next year is next year. Sorry. I don't mean to dismiss. Okay, NBA Academy Australia. Thank you, Prometheus. That's also that. Okay. Dots are connecting. Yes. I feel like I look like a fool right now, but it's a lot of names. Sulepa is intriguing right now, but I also think we'll talk about him in a year and maybe have something legit to say about him as opposed to me kind of just like trying to remember who the hell he is. AJ Johnson, thoughts? Yeah, yes. The answer is yes. I think he is going to go in the first round. He is teeny tiny player for his height. I want to say he was like 6'3", 160 or 6'4", 160, something like that. That's not great. So he needs to fill out, but I could see a team like the Wizards taking him, putting him in the G League for a year, letting him bulk up, and then that could be super, super worth it. What's the one position you think we draft? Josh Levine on Twitter. What's up, my man? I would say center. That's my best guess. Dirty Dancer, I think it's like 40-60. Edie is there. I think that's fair. I think that's a good guess. A little under 50% chance. Maybe even I might even go 45. Vega, intrigued by fringe 7-footers Dante and Hook Purdy. Are they that far from these prospect bigs we're discussing? I think so. I think these guys are not like on your typical mocks for a reason. This is a draft class where these big question marks really are question marks. And that they just, I don't like, is the juice going to be worth the squeeze? Is it worth spending a draft pick to find that out? Undrafted free agent, draft and stash, whatever it is. Sure. Yes. But with that said, these prospects, Ware, Holmes, Edie, and Misi are like the clear top 4 to me in this range, with Klingon and Sar being even further above them. 2 more questions, and then I will head out of here. Dirty Dancer, do the Knicks take any of the potential slippers like Collier, Walter, or Carrington? I could see them taking Carrington if he falls. I really don't think he falls to the Knicks at 24 or 25. Collier, if he falls, something's got to be wrong medically. He should be gone by like 18 at the absolute latest. Carrington should be gone at like 22 at the absolute latest. Jacoby Walter. Okay, that's an interesting one. I don't know if is 24 or 25 a slip for him? I think that's kind of just like his range. He wasn't consistent, but he's a good shooter. And I know Sam Vecini said in his latest mock draft that scouts are kind of like back and forth on him. No one thinks he's a star, obviously, in this draft class, but is he a starter? Is he a bench guy? It's really about what you think about him athletically and about him as a shooter. Other than that, I can't say too much about if the Knicks would take him. I guess they would, but he's only 19, so I want to say no. You know what? Here's what would happen. If Jacoby Walter was there at the Knicks pick, they would take the assets from someone trading up to get him. That's my guess. Dirty Dancer, he got an early green room invite, which surprised me. Yeah, I don't know if it's surprising because of the upside, but no, I get it being surprising. Final question from you guys. Sorry, I'm not in a rush to get out. I just want to get through these as quick as I can. Does Jurisic play NBA right away? Totally depends on the team. For the New York Knicks, absolutely not. For the Washington Wizards, maybe. And I think it's that simple. Again, this class, very fickle, very up to your team's thoughts on the prospects. It really depends. With all of that said, I think this was a successful episode of Dream. It's getting dark out, so my lighting has changed throughout the episode. Andrew will hate me. That's okay. Sorry, man. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you. If you're on YouTube, give this video a like, subscribe to the KFS YouTube channel. If you're on Twitter, go ahead and hop over to the YouTube, give this a thumbs up. And if you're listening after the fact on the Knicks Film School podcast feed, leave one of those 5-star ratings, leave a review, mention draft class, mention Dream in your review. Prometheus, final question, buzzer beater, is Denny Avdia worth a try? I don't think he would go for anything that's what the Knicks would give up. Okay, now I will wrap. Thank you so much for tuning in, everybody. Enjoy your dinner. If you're in a different time zone or you already ate, enjoy your evening. Thanks so much. And if you're listening to this after the fact in the morning, I'm really just making no sense right now. I'm going to cut myself off from rambling, say thumbs up, subscribe, 5-star review, and stay tuned for more episodes of Knicks Film School's Draft Class coming soon to you.